thumbnails round 2. So now it's just, I'm taking those ones that I like and I'm going to refine them a bit, clarify them. Yeah, just make them clearer, develop the idea a bit further. And I'm just drawing on top of them, I grade them out, drawing on top of them, keep things simple. Because I quite like the compositions. The compositions are fine. It's more about I wouldn't say details at this stage, but we're getting more detailed, right? So I'm starting to think about the banister, the stairs, how the eye is being led by that banister towards the children on the stairs. Also thinking about more background elements, the doorway, pictures on the walls. So yeah, it's starting to get a bit more elaborate now. And I'm even starting to think a bit more about these characters. Probably like a kind of general idea of their poses. I'm not going to get too wrapped up in it. I just want to kind of block that in very quickly and see what works with the composition, because that's what's important. I want these poses to work with the composition and not detract from it. Maybe I don't want to lead the eye in places it shouldn't be going with badly posed characters and stuff like that. But again, it's still rough, it's still loose. We're not at that point yet where I'm getting into the nitty-gritty of a character. So this image, I think it's working. I think it's working quite well. And the thing is, you can always push things, and so I like to kind of take the form tools and just mess things around and warp tools and see what I can do. You don't always have to draw. You can cheat. I say cheat. It's not really cheating. It's just making use of the tools at hand. On to the next image, which is very different to the one above. It's almost like flipped. It's almost like if you take the top image and just flip it around so you're in amongst the kids and the ghost is kind of looking down on them. And I actually really like this image, the composition. There's a lot of drama there. Again, though, I think there's just something about the fact you can't see all the kids' faces, and I really wanted that to be an integral part of the image. Again, clarifying this next thumbnail, and it's interesting. I'm starting to get an idea of who the ghost character is, and I think by this point I've already decided it's not a monster. It's definitely a ghost. I like the ethereal nature of it. Yeah, it's just something cool about this thing. Like that the illustration I referenced at the very start. I really want to bring that into the image. So I think by this point I've decided it's a ghost. I'm also thinking about what are these kids doing? So how are they reacting to what's going on? Are they holding things? Are they I don't know. I'm starting to block in the attitudes of the characters, right? So we know from these basic drawings that the ghost character is quite dominant, and it's coming towards them, and it's got its arms up. It feels quite threatening, right? It's very clear, and we can see from the kids that they're all kind of either scattered or running around. They're not sure where to go, so that's important. Now I'm just doing some really quick value tonal pass. Try to think about the lighting. Where's the light source in this scene? And I think the main light source is actually going to be probably a torch one of the kids is holding. But I want some secondary light coming from a window or some other source. And in fact, I think even the ghost itself, I want to explore that idea of the ghost is illuminated. But I do like the idea of a window shining some light from outside on the scene. I think it will really help the image, stop it getting too dark, and add a bit of a bounced light, which will be useful when it comes to the final image. So already these scenes are kind of coming together. There's a sense of the light and the shade, a sense of where the light's coming from. There's a sense of the action that's going on. The composition, they're all kind of working quite well. They're focused on the characters. They're pointing to the characters. So yeah, things are coming together. And really, there's not been a lot of work to get to this point in terms of actual drawing. Quick thumbnail sketches and then really quick refined sketches on top. I did this particular thumbnail twice. I kind of tweaked it a bit. And I was trying to figure out if I could get that one, the top left one, a bit more dynamic. I think it was because I liked that image, but there was something that didn't feel quite right about the perspective. So yeah, I tweaked it, did a different perspective on the stairs, and tried to get that banister really drawing the eye down into the scene, into where the kids were. So yeah, as you can see, still really rough drawings. I could potentially show these to a client. It depends on the client, but they're a lot more clear than the first thumbnail sketches I had. And that's where you want to be at this stage, I think. So this one feels, the background feels more successful to me, whereas the characters feel more successful in the first thumbnail. And that's fine, you know. It might end up that you do two thumbnails that are quite similar and then you combine elements from both into one, which is actually what I do in this image in the next step. Alright, so here's my finished thumbnail sketches. Very loose, very rough, but you know, I can figure out what's working, what's not from these. Let's just talk about them individually. So I'm drawn immediately to these two. So this one and this one. And I think the reasons are, well, there's a few reasons. If we look at this one here, I like how you're in amongst the action of the kids. You know, you feel like you're participating in the chaos of, you know, meeting this ghost for the first time. However, you're not really in the best position to see their reactions like you do here. So they're all kind of, you need some of them looking up at the ghost, right? Whereas I want to see all their faces. I want to see all of them. And I also like the top down balance between the ghost being up here and the kids being lower down. It's that kind of dynamic that I want to keep in the image. Also here, this guy doesn't feel that dramatic. Doesn't feel as in your face as this. So yeah, I'm drawn towards this composition a bit more. This one here is similar, it's a very similar idea. The problem for me is, I quite like it actually. I like the background. I like how you can see the kids really clearly. You see everything going on. And I even like how this shape, this ghost shape is kind of over here. I think it's a good composition. However, I think I'm drawn more towards a landscape image. It feels more cinematic. That's the vibe I want to go for. I want it to be a bit more cinematic. This doesn't, you know, you couldn't fit that on a screen. So yeah, I'm going to probably run with this partly because of that. Anything else? So obviously I've done two versions of the same thing really. I think this background is working a lot better. You've got the 3-point perspective, which is, it leads the eye down like this, focusing on this area here where the kids are. Same with this window shape, does the same. The banister brings the eye in this way. So this works a lot better for leading the eye. than this, which feels very, these lines feel very straight and parallel. There's also a bit more space in here, like in the background here, so I can fill out the background with some details and really sell the location. So there might be some statues, or there's a door here, maybe some there might be even some trees that have kind of creeped in over time. Whereas this, there's less space here for exploring that stuff. Let's just delete that. Now I've kind of explored two versions of the kids. This one and this one. And the next stage I'll explore this a bit more. But yeah, I just wanted to try really quickly. How are they gonna, what's their formation going to be like? And I quite like this. I think that works quite well. These feel a bit more all going the same way. So yeah, this feels a bit more dynamic. Also, I like the big swoop of this going on. Again, it's leaving the eye in here. Combined with, if I combine this swoop in this image with that banister and this 3-point perspective, then I think we're going to have a good composition brewing where all the lines are pointing towards that focal point of the kids. So yeah, I think that's where I'm at. I definitely want to push forward with, so I want to push forward with this one combined with this one. So that's going to be the final kind of structure of my image. And it's worth mentioning, actually, like, this image is, I've had this in my head since doing my research for this. So when I was researching, when I came up with the idea and I was thinking about it, thinking it through, this scene has been in my head from the start, from this angle. And it just so happens that this is the one I decided to go with. It helps to explore other ideas and kind of break out from your initial ideas that are in your head. But sometimes the image you've got in your head is the right one. And I think for me, yeah, this is the one that's working for me. So, next stage, I'm going to look at the characters in a bit more detail, flesh them out a bit more, and yeah, just think about their composition and who the different personalities might be. Task 3. Okay, basically time to draw some thumbnails. This is the exploration, the problem solving, drawing, being loose, being free, coming up with ideas. So yeah, just sketch out some quick ideas, as many as you want. Try and get all the ideas that you came up with while you were researching just onto the page. And then maybe choose 2 or 3 of your favourite ones, refine them a little bit more, make them clearer, all the while just thinking about the composition, the story that you're telling, and a bit of an indication of the lighting, and also think about leading the eye into the image.